and made sure we had family meals nearly every night. She loved holidays, especially Christmas, and as many of you have seen, decorated the house beautifully and with gusto. My mom and dad loved to go on annual family vacations, sometimes to visit relatives, but most often to the beach in North Carolina, which was like heaven to her. You can see from the program today, this photo, which was taken just an hour before we had to unexpectedly return home early from the beach when she got ill. You can see just how much she loved to sit on the deck and look out at the ocean. Of course, this church was a major part of her life. Raised both an Episcopalian and Presbyterian. I never really got this, but her mother went to one church and her father went to another. The Presbyterians lucked out and got her. She started here at Georgetown in 1965, directed here by her sister Winnie, and drawn by the excellent preaching of Dr. Stroup. Shortly thereafter, she met my dad, and he would tell, he was sitting in a pew in front of her in church, right here in this sanctuary, and loved her beautiful voice. And as he would joke later, she sang so loud that he had to go to the ear doctor the next day. She was committed to making this church a better church for everyone, spending countless hours building the church school here, redoing its curriculum, creating the Advent program, the Christmas Eve service. Mom invested her time and talents in helping the refugee families, the Lees and the Trees, who I think are here today. I know I saw the Trees earlier, and the Lees are here. Helping these families get established in the U.S. She wanted the best for them, just like for her own family. She was a deacon, an elder, a search committee member, helped start the elder care program. The list goes on. But maybe more importantly, if you were new here at church and were sitting near her, she would greet you with her warm Southern charm, and after the service, make you feel welcome. She really was welcoming, wasn't she? Mom had friends everywhere, and I mean everywhere, all over the world. When she would travel, she would come home with new friends. How awesome is that? Some of you here today met her that way. She loved catching up with people on the phone. My dad used to joke, the doctors will have to surgically remove the phone from your ear. And she could run Washington from the kitchen phone. Her friendships went back to her small town of Scotland Neck, North Carolina. Then, when she moved to D.C. in the late 50s, she organized a house full of girls on Water Street. It's still there today, just below the Key Bridge. The house became so famous at the time, apparently having the best parties in town, that the girls were featured in Life magazine. One of the more refreshing things about my mom was her Southern charm. It said, you can take the girl out of the South, but you can't take the South out of the girl. Ain't that true? Over 55 years in D.C., and she never lost that kind, inviting nature or graciousness, which everyone loved. Nor did she lose her accent. Her sister Mildred recently told me that Mom was on the phone at work and told a caller that her boss was out of the office in Stockholm, Sweden. And the caller responded, "What do you mean he's in the stock room sleeping?" In the past year, a rare lung disease and infection began to eat away at her lungs, and she became more homebound, which was tough enough on someone so active and social and who loved to exercise. Yet she maintained a strong faith throughout. A beautiful group of friends from the community and church surrounded her and helped her and loved her, and it was awesome to see. My wife commented how amazing this church is at supporting the sick. I know my mom was so grateful for you all. In the last weeks, her body gave out, but her faith and spirit didn't. Just hours before she took her last breath, she told us that the situation was in God's hands, and she was literally singing, I love life. I love God. Life is good. Our mom's death is a big loss. It leaves a big hole in our hearts and the hearts of her friends. She was a devoted and loving wife and mother and a caring friend. She loved God, loved her family, loved others. And loved life. Mom, we love you and we miss you.
When I was reflecting on Suzanne's life, thinking about what I would want to say about her, the word that kept popping into my mind was legacy. And I came upon a quote that says, "What makes greatness is starting something that lives after you." What makes greatness is starting something that lives after you. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this really describes my mother-in-law, who walked arm in arm with my own mother down the aisle of the church the day Rita and I got married. That to me is a very special thing. And it speaks to how much love she had in her heart to create an extension of her family by welcoming ours as a part of her own. And she is my family. That will live on a long time past July 13th. But as anyone who met her would know, and this has clearly been expressed, we were not the only people that she had space in her heart for. If you could see the flood of emails and phone calls we have received, and the sheer volume of cards in her Rolodex. Reed and I were joking that if she was on Facebook, she would set records for the number of friends she had. She made friends everywhere she went, literally all across the globe from all different walks of life. Her life touched so many people. So many people. That says something about the kind of friend she was, and those memories, too, will live on long past July 13th. That is greatness. I've heard and read so many stories about the volunteering she did in the school system with the Juvenile Diabetes Foundation and here at Georgetown. You've heard how she created programs and activities that live on as traditions here, things that are still appreciated and recognized and carried on inside these walls. These efforts of hers are a beautiful, beautiful legacy that will live on past July 13th. That is greatness. After a very long month of Suzanne being in the hospital last fall, she was moved to a rehab facility that was very conveniently located to my work. And this afforded me a wonderful opportunity to get to visit her nearly every day. When I look back, that's the time that I'm the most grateful for, because I got to spend hours with her asking her questions. And she would tell me stories from her childhood. She would tell me stories about the boys. She would tell me stories about her friends. And these are stories that I hope to one day tell our children. They're memories and lessons and ideals that we want to